Hi, I'm Cailey, a librarian here at Mentor Public Library.
And I'm Meg, also a librarian, and welcome to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg, where each week we give you different book recommendations on a specific theme. This week, we're going to be looking at new teen releases. So these are newer releases that we're very excited to share with you today.
Yes, and all the books that we're going to talk about today, even though they're brand new, are available here at the library or online through Libby by Overdrive or with Hoopla. All right, Meg, what's your first new book?
Yes, so my first new book is called These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and it's an intriguing mix of monsters, flappers, Romeo and Juliet, and that dreaded P word, pandemic.
Okay, you've got me. I'm good. You don't even need to say anything else.
I know, right? All set in 1926 Shanghai. So it's just too many unique things not to look into. So let me tell you about it. The city of Shanghai is set in a state of chaos as a result of a blood feud between two rival gangs, the Scarlet Gang and the Russian White Flowers. Especially tense amidst this rival gang war is the relationship between 18-year-old Juliet of the Scarlet Gang and 19-year-old Roma of the White Flowers. They have a little bit of a history. 4 years prior, they shared a mysterious and dangerous attraction with each other until an act of betrayal by Roma cemented bitter animosity between the two. So this is kind of the context at the beginning of the story. But then what happens, to make matters even worse, rumors start to swirl in Shanghai about a mysterious monster, or called a guai, being spotted in the Huangpu River, a monster with the power to cause suicidal madness in the people of Shanghai. And this is a threat not just to the people of Shanghai, but both rival gangs as well. So this is just an everyone problem. And as the story goes along, Juliet and Roma slowly realize that the only hope for their people and their loved ones and their gangs is to actually start working together. But how they're going to do that remains to be seen. So I was just intrigued right from the start with this one, kind of just how you alluded to, just those weird combination of different things is just really cool. I also like the book has a lot of like Shanghainese dialogue in it. So you can kind of pick some up and kind of from the context, which I think is a cool way to get immersed in another world. And also the mystery of the monster. It'll be sure to keep readers intrigued and reading to the last page. So this is definitely a transporting type of book.
That's really cool. I think, like you said, it's nice to see sort of unusual contrasts of familiar themes, but in new places.
Yeah, love it.
My first book is a new release, just came out at the beginning of the month, called Fat Chance Charlie Vega by Crystal Maldonado. And Charlie Vega is a teen in Connecticut, and she's really outspoken. She's confident, but she has her troubles just like everybody else. And for one, Charlie stands out for a number of reasons. One is that she's one of the only people of color in her district area school. And she's also a plus-sized teen. And Charlie doesn't feel like she fits in very well all the time, especially because her mother really pushes her to try to change and lose weight. And Charlie's still kind of figuring out who she is. She has this amazing best friend, Amelia, who is perfect. She's popular, she's beautiful, she's thin. But even though they have this solid, supportive friendship, Charlie always sees herself like measuring against Amelia and not measuring up and being like a second best kind of person. And so she's kind of got some insecurities with that. And this feeling is sort of amplified when Brian, who is this super sweet, cute guy, starts to show an interest in Charlie, which is awesome, right? But she finds out that he first was interested in Amelia, and she finds herself wondering if she's still, again, in second place. And the book is really like a coming of age kind of story. And this is the kind that I loved as a teen myself, like these sort of like jumping into someone else's shoes kind of books, but it's very realistic and relatable. And it's got like all things high school, like the insecurities, the anxiety, the crushes, the, you know, the way that teens measure themselves against one another. And Charlie is just this very awesome character who is trying to figure out who she is and where she fits in among her peers. And, you know, she might find that instead of fitting in, she wants to stand out. And the author addresses all these like common teen things. And the big thing is to like be comfortable in your own skin. And it's not necessarily a romancy book. It's a lot about Charlie figuring out who she is and her friendship with Amelia as well. So I think it's a fun, funny one. It's got a lot of humor in it, but a lot of heart.
Yeah, I love those like slice of life, like, you know, like you said, very relatable. I think she sounds like a very endearing character, and those are the best books when you really just love the main character a lot and want to see them succeed. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So my next one is called The Wide Starlight by Nicole Lesperance. And it's a beautiful story that echoes Norwegian folk tales, which I thought was kind of cool, that explores the grief of losing a beloved family member and the magic of the awe-inspiring Northern Lights.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, right? So it's 16-year-old Aline Davis. And when she was 6 years old, she lost her mother very mysteriously while viewing the majestic Northern Lights in Svalbard, Norway. Now, for any context, the Northern Lights, also known as Aurora Borealis, is that beautiful natural light display predominantly seen around the Arctic and the Antarctic. It's like one of the most beautiful things in the world that you could see. I think that'd be amazing to see one day.
Absolutely, and I haven't seen it yet.
Me neither. I know, right? Dream. That's why we're reading about it, so we can dream about it.
Yes.
But after this horrific tragedy that they really still have a lot of questions about, Aline and her dad moved back to Cape Cod to a decidedly more mundane life than the one she was leading in Norway. You know, so she's just kind of dealing with school and stuff like that. And then just in the back of her mind is always these nagging questions about her mom. Well, one day it's released that the Northern Lights are projected to be shown in Massachusetts, like further south than ever before. It's like this anomaly that's happening. And these just kind of bring back a lot of questions for Aline. And as it gets closer to the date when that's supposed to happen, strange things start to happen that kind of blur the line between like practically what happened to her mom, but also like the folk tale she was told by her mom and grandma growing up, the little Norwegian folk tale. So it's like a cool mix of that, of the real and like the magical, which is fun. And then there's drama, just also a little bit of real drama about like where she's gonna go to college. So seeing how the magical realism, like how that merges together, I think is kind of cool. I know we're kind of done with snow right now, but I think the icy theme is still kind of fun to look at, and it's not to be missed.
I think that sounds really fun. And I personally like love books that take on old folk tales or fairy tales.
Right.
So I think it's kind of fun to introduce something that is not necessarily a known folk tale, but something that, you know, you might want to look more into after reading that book.
Absolutely.
Yes. So my next book is completely different than the first one I talked about.
Yeah.
This one came out a few months ago, just the end of 2020. And this is called The Outlands by Tyler Edwards.
Okay.
And this is about teen Jet and his friends who live in this uncertain future where the world is broken. The cities are walled off and even domed, and no one comes and goes. And Jet and his friends are considered undesirables. They have no particular role in society and are outcasts. And they have to steal to live, basically, and protect their makeshift family. But stealing is a very dangerous way to live because if they're caught, they could be sent to the Outlands, which is the area beyond the city limits where unknown dangers loom. So much so that they say you're better off dead than being sent to the Outlands.
Thanks.
And Jet and his group of misfit friends have a plan.
Ooh, okay.
They join a rebellion group with a plan to take down the government, which is known as the Patriarch. And of course, a revolution is never easy. And there are betrayals and twists and losses all along the way in this very fast-paced story.
Yeah.
And this dystopian world that they live in is not so different from ours, but it has some reimagined technology. There's some features that are just very futuristic. There's even some new slang that's like future slang, which I do associate that with some of the best like sci-fi stories and movies and books, where there's like funny slang that they have because it's supposed to be like futuristic.
Right.
But this book has like excels at the world building, and it really builds this dystopian landscape for you to try to put you in the shoes of these outcasts and what they're going through. And it's got a similar vibe to like the Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner kind of dystopian stories, but it's an ultimately unique story, which is kind of hard to do with the dystopian genre anymore. But the Outlands, like, it pulls you in and has you like rooting for these underdogs to see what goes on. And it's a great like ensemble cast where there's a bunch of different characters. Jet's our primary character, but he's got his friends who are like family, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and you get to see kind of how they play off one another. So it's a really fun one. It's super fast read.
That's great. Yeah. And I love like one that'll grab you immediately and make you just want to read to the end of it. That sounds really good.
And it is the first in a series, planned series.
Awesome. We love those. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg. We hope you got some good ideas today of some newer teen books that have just come out. And hopefully you join us in a couple weeks from now as we give you some more good recommendations.
Yes, enjoy the new teen reads, and happy reading.